Welcome to the With You Rugby podcast, designed to give you an in-depth look at the United States Rugby Foundation, including our grant programs and recipients, fundraisers, events, and much more. Now let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Vizard, president of the United States Rugby Foundation, and I want to welcome you to another one of our With You Rugby podcasts. And as we get closer to our 2024 U.S. Rugby Hall of Fame induction ceremony presented by Major League Rugby, which will incidentally be in Washington, D.C. at the historic Mayflower Hotel on Saturday, July 13th. We thought it'd be great to get to know this year's Hall of Fame inductees and special award recipients just a little bit better. And today I get the pleasure of welcoming in Connor Kelly, the son of a former player, coach, and administrator, and the 2024 U.S. Rugby Hall of Fame Chairman's Award recipient, Lee Kelly. Welcome, Connor.
Thank you, Brian. Happy to be here and represent on behalf of my dad.
Great. And it looks like, what do you got behind you? Where are you talking to us from today?
So I'm on my deck. I'm in Nashville, and
Okay.
I have 3 kids, so this is the quietest area of the house. So we're out here.
All right,
today.
perfect. And so, tell us a little bit about your dad, how he grew up, how big a family did he come from, and what sports did he play as a kid?
Yeah. So he grew up, and he's very proud of growing up and being from Tacoma Park, Maryland. So right on the DC line. So Tacoma Park and DC are very much ingrained in who he is and what he cares about and what he loves. He came from, Irish Catholic family, had a large extended family, but grew up, with his best friends in the streets of Tacoma Park and the streets of DC, playing just about every sport, under the sun. So a lot of it, I think, involved playing just pickup games, like actually in the street, dodging cars and stuff as they went through it. But, I think there's a sport to play. He and his friends found a way to play it.
Did he excel at any sports in high school?
So for the most part, he played a little bit of everything, and it wasn't really until rugby that he really found like this is it. This is my sport. So,
And how did he get introduced to the sport of rugby?
So it was when he went to the University of Maryland, and he was walking through the student union when he was a freshman, and saw a flyer for the rugby team. And being a competitive guy and loving sports and playing everything he could, he's like, all right, I'll give this a shot. And he stuck with it for another 50, 60 years. So
And tell us about your dad's rugby career at the University of Maryland. What position did he play? Any individual or team achievements during that time?
Yeah. So that was the club had just started then. So I think one of his proudest achievements is he played with a lot of his best friends who he made contact with throughout his life. So they had a really great team overall. And I guess became pretty formidable in the local area. And then, which eventually became the Mob when he joined the Maryland Old Boys. I think there became a point where there's some alumni playing for the university team, and they're like, all right, that's enough. We have to break out from there. So that's where the Mob came from.
You mentioned the Mob. He went on to join the Mob, and then he spent the next 30 years building the Mob into one of the premier sides in the Mid-Atlantic. Walk me through some of the various roles he held with Mob.
Yeah, I think it's similar to anybody who's a central figure with rugby clubs in the U.S. He held just about every position under the sun at different points in time. So whether that's being the match secretary or actually coaching the team or being a player coach, anything administrative wise, I think he held just about everything that you can do for a club. He's one of those just kind of, you go to any club, you see there's always a couple core guys who are the glue that holds it together. He was one of those guys for the Mob.
And what positions did he play?
So he's back row.
Okay.
So he played 7 and 8 primarily.
Okay. Now you and your brother Brendan, you've been around the sport of rugby since you were born. When did the two of you start playing, and how big of an influence was your dad in learning the game?
Yeah. So we started. I started playing in 6th grade. I think Brendan was like 7th or 8th grade, because there wasn't much of a youth league when we were younger. Because I think we would have started at 4 if there was a team. So we started around then, and my dad was the coach of the team. So he coached with the Exiles. The Exiles were the Mob joined with other clubs and became the Exiles. And so he started shifting into the youth game when my brother and I started playing. When we started, it was probably 7 or 8 kids, and that obviously that program's grown now. I'm very proud to see it still flourishing. They have over 100 kids playing with the Exiles Youth Organization, which is outstanding.
Yeah. So what was it like around your house? I mean, you and Brendan, I'm picturing like furniture being destroyed, Dad trying to officiate. What was it like around the household back when you guys were learning how to play?
Yeah, I mean, we played every sport under the sun, just like my dad, and he coached us in every sport. So like he was a soccer coach, he was a baseball coach, football coach, just about everything, you know. So playing sports was core memory of growing up in our household. So you know, rugby being one of them too. But he actually didn't, you know, kind of force rugby on us. You know, he got us into every sport, but it was really like our own choosing that we wanted to go. And you know, we grew up going to games and going and watching him in some old boys games and stuff like that. So it kind of just naturally led us to both wanting to play, and then falling in love with the sport ourselves.
Hmm. And how did your dad become involved with the Gonzaga High School rugby program?
And so when Brendan went to Gonzaga and was going out his freshman year to play, because he had a couple of years playing with the Exiles at that point, you know, he obviously had been in the game for a long time at that point and just went out to practice and, you know, offered to help if he could. You know, and they accepted it, and you know, a lot happened from there with the Gonzaga program.
Yeah. Now we know Gonzaga has been a high school powerhouse for a number of years. Back then, when your dad, you know, got involved with the program, were they good then, or were they just starting out? Tell us a little bit about how Gonzaga played back then.
Yeah, no, I mean, Gonzaga's first team was formed in 1988, so there had been 10 years prior, and they actually become had steadily grown and were a solid club. So I think in 1998, right before my dad joined, they won the first PRU championship, and then I think what you see come with a lot of high school teams, you can have a great class of seniors, they can rise the program up, but then it can, you know, it can ebb and flow and fall back a little bit. So I think when my brother went out, there's probably about 30 kids on the team with the A side and B side, and still a good side for sure. But then, you know, he was able to take that and transform it into 250 kids playing and going on international tours and doing a lot more than just what, you know, you commonly think of what a high school rugby club can accomplish.
Yeah, I'm going to rerun some of those things right now. During your dad's rugby coaching career at Gonzaga, his teams achieved 16 U.S. high school boys rugby national championship appearances. They won the national championship in 2014, 15, 16, and 18. They won 15 Potomac Rugby Union High School championships, 7 Marfu championships, 7 Metro Area Varsity Rugby Conference championships. I mean, he must have been so proud of that team's success. Did he share with you the reasons for that continued success at Gonzaga?
Yeah, I mean, his approach was kind of like the winning and the success was a byproduct of some of like his core tenets, which is there's a kid that wants to play rugby. He doesn't care their skill level. He didn't care how much of an athlete they were. He was going to find and get them on the field and get them involved in the game that he loved so much. And that was his way of giving back to the game. So being able to bring kids in, have an inclusive environment, using rugby as a tool to lift people up and as a development tool, as so many great coaches do. And then just people were drawn to that, and the team kept growing. You know, that also drew in better coaches that he was able to come and bring into the program. And that kind of, you know, we kept raising the bar year after year, because when I was playing, winning the local area was like one of our biggest accomplishments. Then it became, that was kind of like not an afterthought, but it became easier and easier. And then it was like, okay, now we need to win the regional. Now we get to the national stage, and we got to keep climbing that ladder, finishing third a couple of years in a row before getting to the national championship game and losing it, and then finally breaking through in 2014, and you know, being able to consistently be one of the top teams from there on out.
Yeah, we mentioned they won. Gonzaga won 4 national high school championships. Do you know if any of those championships stood out amongst the others to your dad?
Yeah, I think 2014 for sure, because that was the first one. And that was just like a validation of a lot of work that he did, but not just for him, but for the army of people that he amassed to help support the program. Just being able to put Gonzaga on top of the world in his sense, from a rugby standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Now, your dad did more than just to create the dynasty at Gonzaga. Tell me about some of the other things your dad did in the sport, both locally and on the national level.
Yeah, I mean, he sought to give back to the game in a lot of different ways. And so being involved and being the commissioner of like the PRU youth high school, being able to like coach and lead some of the all-star teams. Like I got to go to Florida and other places to play other all-star teams and stuff like that. Just being a central figure in like the DC rugby community and working with not just, there's opposing coaches that we would play up against, but he would also like bring them in and try to help elevate their programs because he knew that was good for us. Like as rugby grew, that was good for Gonzaga and that was good for everybody in the rugby community. So he went out of his way not just to focus on Gonzaga, but try to build rugby anywhere that he could. And that led to some of the USA Rugby appointments, like in the the youth game task force and stuff like that.
And tell us a little bit more about that. What roles did he have with USA Rugby, and didn't he also get involved with a coaching leadership group as well?
Yeah, so he essentially would mentor, different coaches, especially as they're getting going. Some of these programs, like, didn't know where to start or how to best utilize resources that they had. So he would be somebody that could help kind of guide the direction and give them advice on how to, make the most of it and create a great experience for the kids. But then he was involved in like a competitions committee and just like overhauling all like the youth competition, especially when it comes to like the national competitions. And just how should we go about that? Something he was very proud to be a part of. And, he probably would say that he didn't feel like he should be in those meetings and be a part of that. But, his opinion mattered a great deal to a lot of folks.
Sure. And the boys national high school championship tournament is now named after your dad. Yep. It must be a good feeling for the family knowing that Lee's legacy will remain throughout that tournament.
Yeah. And that was actually something that he and, Bart from Penn and Coach Sweeney from Xavier actually came together and formed that tournament just to maintain a high school national championship, just so a variety of programs in the country could go and test themselves at the highest level. So he was really proud of just being able to have that tournament, and then he would absolutely love the tournament being named for him, even though he probably would say he didn't deserve it. So.
I went to the tournament a couple of years ago in Elkhart, right? In Elkhart, Indiana. And yeah. I mean, what a great ground that is. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen 3 or 4 more well-manicured pitches in the country. I mean, that was just a full tournament. I enjoyed that.
The whole tournament's just outstanding. And just, again, giving the kids who've like built up their programs to the point to be able to go out and test themselves. And even for people who don't get into that top tier, having that second tier, to create a great experience and to keep helping programs develop. Definitely, again, it goes back to like his inclusive nature and trying to get as many people playing rugby as they possibly can.
Right. Well, now you're following in your dad's footsteps. You're coaching at Nashville Catholic Rugby. How much of your dad's influence or teachings are you incorporating on your school's team?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely there. So focusing on not just obviously getting these kids interested in rugby and trying to help them understand and learn the game better and become better rugby players, but just as important, how are we developing them off the field? How do we use this game as a tool for their development and just to make them better people? And then, another approach that we're taking is, and again, Nashville Catholic is still a very new club. We've got a great, core group that's growing it out, but recruiting the family, not just the player. And how do we get the families involved? How do we get this to be a little bit different than just any other sport they can throw their son or daughter into, to really build that community and that atmosphere, which helps the club grow.
And how does the team do this past season?
So there's no league in Nashville.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we partnered with another youth club, and so we do a lot of like scrimmaging and touch. But we've consistently seen the number of kids grow that come out. We see kids coming back, which is our measure of success right now. So down the road, we're envisioning building out a league. Okay. So right now we're just trying to get as many kids coming out and playing and coming back, and we're off to a good start there.
Well, hopefully some in the area will hear this and see this and form some other teams in the area. That'd be great.
Yeah. So it's coming along. So
now, Connor, your sons are also playing. What positions do they play? And did your dad get to see them play rugby at all?
He would watch us play, we would play like all together, like in the yard and stuff. But he was never able to get to like a Nashville Catholic, event or anything. But my kids are 7 and 5 who are playing, and then my daughter's 2, and she'll eventually join the ranks too. But a 7-year-old, he's got great vision on the field, so he's got and just given his body type, he's looking like he's going to be in the backs. And then my 5-year-old, his personality, his body type, everything is pointing towards the back row. He tackles even though we play touch. So we have to kind of hold him back sometimes.
Well, that's great. Now, Connor, your dad has accomplished so much in our sport here. Of all of his accomplishments, what are you most proud of from your dad's rugby career?
Yeah. So my dad got diagnosed with cancer in 2020, and we were always planning on when he was going to wind up his time at Gonzaga to do like a book of tributes to him. And so that sped up the process, and we got that going. And so we had over 250 people write tributes to him. And what I'm most proud of is seeing the impact that he had on people's lives. You know, taking it outside of the game and how much he meant to them and how much his influence had an impact on. These tributes came from players, coaches, the parents of players, opposing coaches, the administration from Gonzaga, from family. Just it's awesome to have like just here's a pretty substantial book that just shows how much he meant and what his actions meant to so many different people, and that's what I'm most proud of. The championships and stuff are great, and we love that, and Gonzaga's continued to be great. But that impact is what I admire the most from his rugby career.
What do you think your dad would be most proud of from his career?
I think it's the same thing, just the impact that he had on people and giving people an opportunity to play, even though they may not have felt like that rugby was for them, and pulling people and helping them learn and grow and develop by using just this outstanding game that we have is such a great tool for doing that.
And what do you think your dad's reaction would be being named this year's Chairman's Award recipient for all the work he's done in rugby?
Well, again, he would probably say he doesn't deserve it, even though he'd be wrong. But he would really view it, and he got inducted into the Gonzaga Athletic Hall of Fame. And I was watching his speech again just a few weeks ago, and he really took that as not an award for himself, but an award for the entire rugby community that he was involved with. For all the coaches and players and boosters and everybody who had a part in the clubs that he was a part of, he would view this as an award for them just as much as himself. That I'm pretty confident that that's how he would approach receiving this outstanding award.
And what does it mean to your family for your dad to receive this award?
I mean, it's validating because like we've had front row seats to everything that he's done in the game, but then just having that recognition of not just like locally, because I think everybody in the DC area knows who my dad is and what he was able to do for the game, but then just having this national recognition and just pointing out like all the effort, all the time, all the sweat and everything that he put into the game, and just having a small token appreciation back for that. It's definitely validating and something that definitely makes me proud. And as I said, it's a great example for my kids, looking to seeing an award like this, seeing all the other awards and championships and stuff, and seeing like how should you conduct yourself. And if you do things the right way, it will work and you will be able to build something and accomplish some great things, again, on and off the field for my dad.
Yeah, your dad is a special man. And again, what a great contributor to our sport and a well-deserved award. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person in DC and your family as well. And can't wait to do that. And it's just a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. And we got all the cousins too. So I think we're going to have a lot of kids coming out to their first international rugby game, which will be great.
Oh, that'll be fun. Well, Connor, I want to thank you for your time. The foundation thanks you and your family, and I'm sure, as we all are, very proud of what your dad has accomplished in our sport, and thank him for all the contributions he made, and you're following in his footsteps. So that's great to see.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate, just the honor that he's being given, and hopefully we can use this honor and help it, demonstrate the way that you should be running clubs, the way that you should approach this game. So again, thank you to you and the foundation and for everything involved with that in the weekend.
All right. Looking forward to it on July 13th. We'll see you soon.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of our With You Rugby podcast. For more information about the U.S. Rugby Foundation, go to our homepage at usrugbyfoundation.org. And for more information about the Hall of Fame weekend, the USA versus Scotland game, and the Hall of Fame induction ceremony at the Mayflower Hotel on Saturday, July 13th, go to our homepage and in the upper right-hand corner, click on Hall of Fame. Until next time, everyone, stay safe.